Here's chapter 17. Flanders' friend Tim walks to school. Tim walked to school with renewed hope in his heart. He had Arthur back in his life and he knew that he could face anything. Unfortunately, when he got back to the school gates, a familiar face was waiting for him. "Where's my money?" said Smigger, with a cruel grin. Tim tried to walk past him with his head down, but Smigger grabbed his shoulders roughly. "Give me my money, nerd," he said roughly. Tim put his shaking hands into his pocket and he pulled out a crumpled £5 note. "That's all I've got," he said glumly. "That'll do for now," said Smigger, "but I want that every week." "But what about my dinner money?" pleaded Tim. "That's not my problem," sneered Smigger. "I'm all right," Jackie added as he held the note up to the light to check that it was genuine. "I'm sure that you will think of something," he added casually, "and don't forget I'll be watching and waiting for you." Tim wandered off feeling low again, and he sat at the desk, all alone in his school, with just an apple and a glass of water. He was miserable. His stomach was rumbling like a runaway train, and he was just relieved that he'd had sausage for his breakfast. Thank God for Arthur, he thought. Tim could feel the tears prick in his eyes, but he wouldn't cry. That was the worst thing he could do in front of his classmates. Everyone else were chatting to friends, and he just sat alone. It was so unfair, he thought. The pain was building up inside him, and he didn't know why he'd been targeted. Maybe it was because he was different, he thought sadly. At least no one knew about his dad, he thought, relieved. That would be too much to bear for him, and each time he got low, he thought of Archie and how kind and funny he was to him, and his spirit began to rise like an old kite. Arthur gave him a reason to keep going, and he had so many dark thoughts running through his mind, like demons trying to drag him under, but he knew they wouldn't win. He ate the apple, it was crispy and delicious, and he began to feel better. Tim was easily pleased. Sometimes it was the little things in life that can make a difference, he thought, and the rest of the lessons went by slowly, and all that he could think about was his hollow stomach, and he was sure that the apple was rolling around inside of him, and he felt like he was the Tin Man. Eventually the bell rang and he walked out of the school gates briskly with his head down. Tim was nervous and he didn't want to see Smigger and his horrible gang. It was hard for him not to think that he was a marked man. And when he got to the traffic lights, hope began to rise inside him, that he would be able to get home safely. He watched the lights changing colour and they seemed to take an age. It was then that he felt a tap on his shoulder. Tim turned to see Smigger grinning at him inanely. The lights changed and Tim continued walking and not looking back. It felt like his legs were made from lead, and he shuffled across the road like an old man. "Hurry up, girl," he heard Smigger muttering behind him. Tim carried on walking, and he was getting closer to the safety of the fields. All that he wanted was to see Arthur and to smile again. Smigger grabbed him roughly by the shoulders and he turned him round. "Don't ignore me, girl," he said. "I didn't," said Tim, and he put his hand on Smigger's shoulder. Smigger seemed to lose his footing and he stumbled back. Tim couldn't help a small smile appearing on his face, but Smigger's face was bright red as a traffic light, thought Tim, and his smile beamed wider despite his efforts. Unfortunately, he took his eye off Smigger a little too long, and thwack, he felt a burning sensation in his left eye, and he fell once again into the dirt. "Don't laugh at me, girl," said Smigger. "Next time there'll be more." He spat out like a rattlesnake. Once again Tim scrambled to his feet and he brushed the leaves from his trousers. His eyes were burning as if someone had inserted a red-hot poker into them, and Tim wanted to cry. "What have I done to deserve it?" he thought. "Nothing." "This will take some explaining," he thought when he got home. Tim was embarrassed for Arthur to see him like this, and he was worried about how Arthur would react. It didn't take him long to find out the answer.